Good morning, everyone. It's Chris Clark of Cad-Capture here. I'm Sales Director of Cad-Capture, and I'm going to talk to you through our asset management solution, which combines the value that Cad-Capture brings to the OpenText customer base with our asset navigation solution. For those of you who are listening to this as a recording, please see right to the end of the session, there will be some details where you can contact us if you have any questions arising from this. For those of you on with us today, please interject if you have questions, or there will be time for questions at the end of the session as well. Okay, so I'll give you a very quick overview of Cad-Capture, who we are and what we do, where we've come from. And then I'll move to our asset navigation solution, which is the AIM suite, which comprises of our asset extractor and HotSpots components. I'll talk you through some of the latest developments that our solution has had recently. Then we'll move to a live demonstration of an end user using the asset navigation solution from Cad-Capture in an OpenText environment. And then we'll finish up on some questions and summarizing what we've gone through at the end. Okay, starting with Cad-Capture. We're based in the northwest of England in a town called Blackburn. We've been around for a long time, 37 years now. We've always focused in the engineering space. We started off as a large format scanning bureau and CAD conversion bureau. But over the years, we moved into the realm of creating software solutions because those same customers that we'd helped initially capture and digitize their engineering drawings and documents were coming to us with questions about how they share the information, how they give access to it, how they view it, and how they leverage the content within those engineering documents more effectively. And that led us to creating a number of different solutions. The one that we're going to go through today is the asset navigation solution with the Cad-Capture AIM suite, which is Asset Information Management Suite. And we've partnered with OpenText for over 17 years now. They actually resell our solution. So when you're speaking to your OpenText reps, then they'll be able to see this. It's on their price list, and they can actually provide this to you directly. And we're certified on the OpenText cloud as well. So whether it's on-premise or in the OpenText managed environment or your own cloud instance, we are fully certified for all of that. Okay, so where do we work and what are we looking to do? Well, where do we work? In asset-intensive industries. So anyone who's creating and maintaining large-scale assets generally have the ability to get benefit from our solution. Here are just some of the industries that we work in. And the thing that's common to all these industries are these issues where people are struggling to access and find the information that they need effectively. They have multiple systems, siloed data, inefficient search and retrieval processes, and all of these mean that there are struggles when it's the time to data. It impacts on their quality, their compliance, their safety record, and their ability to maintain standards generally. It also is apparent that very often people in this sort of instance where they're creating and maintaining large-scale assets, they also have very often enterprise-wide systems that they're looking to adopt, but these are difficult to deploy and actually to get a footprint of the users and win the hearts of the local people using the system, who are at the coalface, either literally or figuratively, because they don't necessarily help them in the way that they need to be helped in the short term. And all of these areas are areas where the Cad-Capture solution can add value and has added value in a number of instances. And happy to talk to you about those in more detail if you think that any of this resonates with you or your organization. So moving on to the solution itself, there's 3 modules, but there's 2 main components to our system. And the first one is the identification of information. It's the extraction of information. We call it with our component asset extractor, but it's tag extraction. Scraping is another term that's often used by people where they're looking to find information within drawings and documents and be able to utilize it more effectively. So we do this using pattern recognition and regular expressions. So basically that means that we're able to extract pretty much any information that's based on a structured naming convention within a drawing or document. So that's a native CAD file or a searchable PDF. Because we've used this rule-based approach for pattern matching, we can then categorize each of the different types of tag because we can identify them based on the rule that's identified them. So here are some of the common versions that we see of tags that people see value in accessing. This is a sort of standard P&ID from an oil refining use case. Continuation tags, off-page tags, instrumentation, equipment, piping, but anything that is in there, and anything that perhaps they might have the need to have more granular access, so we can subdivide the instruments and the equipment, for instance, into different types. But we're able to take this information off the page automatically, not done at the drawing level. It's done centrally with the patterns, and that allows us to create and then maintain an asset database, a tag library of the information. So you have the tags per drawing and drawings per tag relationships. This means that search and retrieval is vastly improved, because when you're looking for something about a particular asset, you know immediately which drawings and documents that's located on, so which ones are likely to be useful for you in your task. As part of this ingestion process and extraction process, I should say, we're also able to identify errors, so we can identify near misses. Here's an example where a space is left in a continuation tag. So on the left-hand side, you see what's been typed in. On the right, you can see where the actual value as it should be if it had been entered correctly. Now, we can identify these because we can adjust the patterns to take account of common errors. So this could be dashes, spaces, leading zeros, a host of different things that may have been entered incorrectly, but ultimately can lead us to still identify the tag. And we can also do that on the PDF side of things, so where OCR errors have manifested, so letters and numbers being mixed up, we can identify those as well. In each case, we can shine a light on them, and that's something that the users themselves can decide. Is that something that's important? Does it have safety implications? Is it something that has to be rectified? In which case, they can rectify them. It can be put on a workflow for remediation. But if it's something that, in essence, doesn't have safety implications, is going to cause them problems, but they don't need to necessarily change if it could be altered to allow them to use it in an effective search and retrieval, then the Cad-Capture solution can be used to tolerate it. So effectively, we can identify this. We can then take the information as it should be. So at the metadata level, we will upload the corrected value, which means from a search and retrieval point of view, you will have the correct files when you search using the correct format, even though there are inaccuracies or errors in the actual underlying document, either by the OCR read or the way it's been entered manually. Okay, so that is a sort of very quick overview of the first part of the solution. So that's extracting the information. What we can then do is, because we have that database available to us, we can then build on that and activate those tags in as we call them, a HotSpots environment. So this is, again, using the same document. When you're hovering over one of the assets, you then have the ability to build in abilities to do a whole host of things. This could be, the right-click menu is configurable, and this means that you can search and retrieve information both within the repository and from other repositories and other locations as well. So the start of a 10, the out of the box is the related documents. So this is essentially saying, I'm looking at an asset, a tag within a drawing. I want to know where else this tag exists. And immediately you've got a list of related documents, as you can see on the left-hand side of the screen, appearing. And that means that you can get direct access from the drawing to those relevant documents. And that's a very time-efficient way of being able to find the information that you need to carry out a business task. We can also take that a step further and say, okay, we want to be able to leverage that information on the page and then go and look for information elsewhere. And part of that is the XECM, the extended ECM framework from OpenText. So this is their integration to other third-party systems, SAP being one of the key ones. And here you see the business workspace, which is basically bringing the information from another system, in this case SAP, into alignment with the unstructured content from the document management system. So it gives you a middle ground where you can access the structured content from SAP with the unstructured engineering document data, and that is something that we can give you direct access to from the drawing. We can also upload all of that metadata into the OpenText system automatically. So here you see the metadata being populated as the extraction has taken place, and then that is maintained ongoing. So this isn't a point in time. So this isn't, you know, similar to sometimes when people ask for a manual scrape to be done. Often when they send that outside of the company and say, please, can you just tell us what's in the drawings? This could be done in-house with the system automatically. But then when a new revision or a new document is added, then that will automatically go through the extraction process, and the metadata can be uploaded into the OpenText environment. So from a search and retrieval point of view, you have that ability. Also, back to the OpenText XECM framework, we have the ability to automatically create and maintain the business attachments within the business workspace. So this is similar to the rated documents as you saw on the drawing. This is the documents that you want to see when you're looking at the business workspace for a particular asset or a piece of equipment within the XECM environment. And that is a huge time saver in terms of making sure that all of the attachments are created and they're maintained automatically. And it means that you don't have to go through that as a manual process, which can be hugely time consuming. And we've seen that take, literally man years, because people have so many documents and so many assets, and for them to create those business attachments without the Cad-Capture system is generally a manual process, with people going in saying, okay, finding the drawings and documents and then creating those links and embedding them in the business workspace. So that can be a huge time saver as well. In terms of the actual extraction, so here's an example of how we go about identifying that information. So some of the patterns that we would use. Here's an example pattern for a piece of equipment. So you've got the rule is 1 to 3 letters, a dash, then 3 numbers. You've got the value of V-110, so that's been identified as the tag value. Because we know which of the rules has identified it, we know the type of asset, so we know it's a piece of equipment, and we also take the XY coordinates. So where there's multiple instances of a tag on a drawing, we can differentiate between those. We're also able to deal with abbreviations and shortcuts and separators. So here you have, on the heater, as this is, BUH-100C/D. So the rule is 1 to 3 letters, dash, and 3 numbers. Sorry, is forget that. The rule is the BUH-100C/D, which is an abbreviation for both a record of C and a record of D. In the database, we have a line item for each of those. So BUH-100C, BUH-100D. So this abbreviation saves space on the page. And this means that you have a line item, so you can have dedicated access to that information. An example of an instrument is very often these are located within an instrumentation circle, and we can identify and we qualify on that basis. So the rule is here 1 to 3 letters, and then a return, then 3 numbers. But we can also further qualify that and add intelligence into the selection process by saying only validate this if it actually matches the rule, but also exists in the instrument circle, and that's the bubble, and that means that you can cut down the false positives. And other examples similar to what I showed you in the original example will be lines, continuation tags, as well as the equipment and the instrumentation. All of this is configurable. Okay, so let's move on to the latest developments and what we've been adding to our system over recent months. So firstly, we now have the ability to extract large volumes of process large volumes of documents to extract large volumes of asset information. We can now parallel process. So from an initial bulk load approach, that means that it can be very time efficient. We can also carry this out remotely, so we can take the extraction process out of the architecture of the OpenText system. So, whether you're in cloud or whether you're on premise, the extraction can sit outside of that deployment. This is something that Cad-Capture can host for initial backlog, or it's something that can be used ongoing for the business as usual upload and update of the drawings and documents. And that gives you a lot of flexibility, particularly if you have peaks and troughs. If you're in a cloud environment particularly, then requisitioning the hardware that's needed in a cloud environment can be expensive, particularly if it's managed by third parties. Whereas if it's in a separate instance, then that's something that can be done much more effectively. So that remote processing and the ability to flex it up and down from a capacity planning standpoint can add a lot of value. Our solution is now fully containerized with Postgres support. So that's both for Content Suite and XCCM and for Documentum, which means that, again, it can be deployed in a fully Windows environment. And we also have Smart View for Documentum. That's one of the latest developments on our Documentum solution. Most importantly, we also support intelligent viewing now. So this is the new viewer from OpenText, which ultimately is going to replace the Brava viewer. So in terms of multi-format viewing, we can support both the Brava and the intelligent viewing platform, which again means that you can be future-proof. So even if the vast majority of existing customers are still using Brava, we have customers who are now moving to intelligent viewing. Some people go from new deployments will go straight to intelligent viewing. Others are looking to transition over time, and they want to know that if they're investing in a new solution, it will support where they're going to be in a few years' time, as well as where they are now. So again, we've got both of those covered off. In terms of the environments and support that we add from the OpenText point of view, well, we cover the Content Suite system, XCCM for engineering, XCCM for SAP, and as you've seen, the automatic business attachment and creation, and also the XCCM for Maximo. Again, that covers the business attachment creation and update. We'll cover the D2 from a Documentum point of view. We cover D2 and asset operations. And as I mentioned before, OT Cloud certified, supporting Brava intelligent viewing, and we have these short-term backlog processing, but also multi-site support and remote extraction options for you. And what value do we bring to the OpenText user base? Well, it really allows the OpenText system to interact far more effectively and take part in the conversation with the enterprise asset management or EAM space. It takes the value proposition of the XCCM from OpenText and SAP and takes it to the next level, which means that you can have full visibility of the engineering content from the SAP system and the SAP content from the OpenText repository, and that can have huge benefits in terms of alignment, master data governance, and streamlining the search and retrieval process. Saving costs and money. And as part of that, I think the significant value that we bring is the identification and extraction of the asset data using the asset navigation solution. So what that means is the ability to create and maintain a tag database, giving the tags to document relationship, being able to maintain that ongoing, so you don't need to go out for multiple scrapes over time. Once you have the system, then it will make sure that all of the data is maintained and kept up to date. We create the business attachments automatically, as we've mentioned, and then we automatically add those and update those into the business workspace. And we do this not just for the SAP integration, but also for the XCCM for Maximo, which is provided, again, as part of the OpenText SolEx price list and by our partner, Quellis, who create and maintain that integration. So that was a quick overview of the solution itself. I'm now going to go into a brief demonstration just to give you an idea of what the system looks like. So here we have an OpenText system. This is Content Suite. Using the Smart View, and we'll open up a drawing using the multi-format viewer. And this will open up. And on the left-hand side, you'll see that there is a menu bar from the HotSpots perspective. So here we go. So this is the HotSpots menu, and this allows you to do a number of things. I'll talk you through each of these different menu items now. So straight away, you can turn on all of the tags that have been identified. So all the different colors that you can see here are representing different types of assets. So blue for equipment, pink or orange for instruments, green for lines, and then yellow for continuation tags. We also have the ability to have a filter list. So this shows you that there's been 117 tags have identified and activated as hotspots in this drawing. And this is not the busiest, so sometimes that can be in the multiple hundreds of tags. And where there are high numbers of tags, very often there's a need to be able to search quickly and find where a tag is and where it's located, and then decide what you're going to do in terms of supporting the business activity you're carrying out. So you can very quickly find what you're looking for by clicking on the filter list, and this will take you to each of the tags. And here's an example of the filter and the separator here before I mentioned where we have the abbreviation. So you've got BUH-E-H here, so that's for a range of tags. The right-click menu shows that you have a dedicated menu to each of those. So you can very quickly click on anywhere in the filter list, and that will zoom into the tag that's being referenced. Or you can type in and start the filter process itself. So if I know I'm looking for a certain piece of equipment, if I've got a work order that's asking me to carry out a particular task, then I can type that in and say, okay, show it to me. And here it shows there's two instances, again, the XY coordinates that I mentioned before, so we know which page and where it is on a page. And there's two instances. So here we'll look at the pump itself, and the right click. So you can see it's highlighted blue, showing its piece of equipment, and you have this right click menu. As I mentioned before, this is fully configurable, and the out of the box capability is the related documents. So this means that you can then go straight from the drawing or within the drawing and see a list of all of the documents and drawings that have this included, this tag included. Or in addition to that, you can have associations. So we have this motor below the pump, so these are two related. So the motor is driving the pump, and that means that if you're going to carry something out on the pump, if you're replacing the pump, then you might have to isolate the motor, so you may need to go and find information out about that. So let's have a look at the related documents. Here you've got a process flow, a couple of process flow diagrams. You've got the P&ID that we're on. You've got a plot plan, and then you've got some data sheets. You've got the pump data sheet, but also, as I mentioned, you've got the motor data sheet. So if I'm looking to isolate that, I might need to go and look at the data sheet to find something out about it. So here you have it opening up in a PDF, and because it's searchable, and it's been processed through our system, you have a tag on here, so you have the same right click menu, related documents. In this case, you can see there's a different selection because we're starting from a different point, but there is overlap. So just as before, there's the pump on the pump data sheet, as well as the motor data sheet that we're on already, and there's also the PFD and the plot plan that we were on. So I'll use this to go back to the plot plan and do a bit more navigation around there. Okay, so again, if I'm carrying out a task on the pump and or the motor, I might want to see what else is going to be impacted. So I could walk the line from here. So we're on drawing 4, you can see at the top. And if we go along here, this continuation tag tells me that I need to go to drawing 5 if I want to see what else is going to be carried on this line. I can simply click on this continuation tag. It automatically takes me to the next drawing, and it even highlights where I've come from. So now you can see at the top, we're on drawing 5, but the tag itself says drawing 4. Okay, so you know where you've come from. Excuse me. And that gives you a breadcrumb trail and ability to go back should you need to. Again, we could sort of carry on walking the line briefly here, go through this vessel and up, and we'll get to these 4 tanks or vessels here. This is an example of where the tags have been incorrectly added, but they've been tolerated. So it wasn't deemed important enough, there was no safety implication, I should say, rather than important enough, for the drawing to need to be changed, but it was acceptable for them to be changed at the metadata level. So how can we illustrate this? Well, you have the one in the top left-hand corner, V401A, which should be V-401A, has an underscore. We have here V401B with no space, and you have here V402B with a space. The only one that's actually correct is this one on the bottom left, which is V-402A. So again, to show this working fully, if I do a search for V-401A, then it shows me actually there's 2 direct or full matches. There's the one that we've seen there, and there is actually a correct version elsewhere on the page. But if this one has been altered at the metadata level, has been corrected at the metadata level, so the drawing hasn't been changed, so there isn't the overhead of having to get a draftsman in and then somebody to check any changes made, so that time delay and cost has been avoided, but the drawing can be found effectively if somebody is searching on the correct tag rather than what's actually been entered incorrectly. And that again can be very powerful. We also have the ability to have a HotSpots history. So this menu item here means that it builds up another breadcrumb trail of all of the drawings and tags that you visit during a session and documents. So here you can see we started off on the P&ID, we went to the data sheet, we went back to the drawing 4, and we're now on drawing 5. This is very useful, so it allows you to navigate back and forth between drawings that you might be using during a session. You can also save these, so that is useful if you get to break or end of shift. So you can save all of the drawings that you were using in documents, and then you can start where you left off, so you don't have to go and finding them all and opening them up again. Perhaps most powerfully, you can also use this to create effectively a work pack. So when a task is carried out and this HotSpots history is compiled automatically, you can save that. So then if that task is going to need to be repeated, so let's say it's periodic maintenance, you can then start at that point the next time that that task is carried out. So here you have, quarterly maintenance routine. You can save that work pack. So the next time someone is carrying that out, that can automatically be loaded, and it'll have the latest revisions of all of those documents as well. So that gives the person who's doing this, particularly if it isn't the original person, a great starting point. So they've got access, ready access to the documents and drawings that they're likely to need as they were used the last time this was carried out. Great way of empowering the engineers, so making them more self-sufficient, and saving the document controllers time, so they don't have to spend as much time, or sometimes perhaps any time, creating the work packs, because effectively they create themselves. Once the task is carried out, then they can be maintained and used moving forwards. For now, we'll go back to the P&ID using the HotSpots history where we started, and we'll look at some other functionality on the right-click menu. So we go back here. As I say, the right-click menu is configurable. We'll go back to the pump, and we'll go to say, okay, well, we can search other repositories. A very easy example here is SharePoint. The vast majority of companies have SharePoint, for one reason or another. So if there is documentation that is relevant to this pump, related to this pump, but isn't managed within the OpenText repository, then you can get direct access to it, building in the SharePoint access from the right click, and you can go straight to it. In this case, we've got a datasheet PDF that's held outside of the OpenText repository. So you can get access to that even though it's not being managed by OpenText. Another right-click option there would be the ability to find more focused searches. So this gives you access to all of the related documents. You can have a much more focused search. So let's say, just show me P&IDs. Some organizations that we deal with have multiple types of documents and multiple numbers of documents within each type. So if you have large numbers of P&IDs, for instance, you might just want to search through those on their own. So here you just see the P&IDs themselves, and that can be configured to whatever document type is relevant to the business undertaking people are carrying out. The key thing here, I would say, though, is the business workspace. So this is the extended ECM, the XECM framework from OpenText, which means that you can go straight to the SAP interface between OpenText and Content Suite. So this is, in this case, it's not a live system, but this is a screenshot of the business workspace. And again, just as you saw before, the related documents for the pump that you can access from the drawing, you can also access these in the business workspace because these business attachments have been created and maintained by the Cad-Capture system. Equally, if somebody's approaching this from the SAP side of things, then they can see all of these documents and drawings. So before they get to the drawing, they can see the related drawings and documents to the pump, and then they can open up those drawings, and then they can have the HotSpots experience and navigate between and around all of the documents and drawings as you've seen today. A couple of other examples that we'll show you. So that's all using a native CAD file. So that's a very good, clean and rich, intelligent drawing. We can also work with PDFs. Here's, again, another pretty much the best version of a PDF that you'll get. So this has been generated from the AutoCAD application itself. So that means that you get a lot of the information from the CAD file available in the PDF. So in that case, because it's very rich in terms of the content, we can identify all of that information. And again, you have the same functionality, you have the same right-click options. This is added to the tag database as and all of the options that I've shown you before are available. But the world isn't like that, and not all PDFs are like that. So sometimes you have parts of a PDF which aren't electronically capturable automatically. Here you have the ultimate where none of it is. This is a raster file where OCR can't make any sense out of anything on it that's worthwhile. But our system still has the ability for you to use these because you can use the draw on or manual HotSpots feature, which means that you can effectively draw on and then write in the tag value that then automatically is entered into the database, uploaded into the OpenText metadata, and accessible. So you have the right-click menu, and again, you can still do all of the same things that you could on the previous drawings and documents. So you don't have to get these old drawings redrawn. You can take them with you, and you can have the same end-user experience. Because obviously, when drawings tend to get to this stage, it's for a number of reasons. One, it's generally important, and two, it's been around for a long time. And three, very often the original drawing has been lost. So if you had to go back and redraw this, then that would be very time consuming because you don't have a clean version, an actual vectorized, CAD version very often. So this could be very powerful in terms of saving time as well. Okay, so that was a very quick overview of the demonstration itself. So what have I talked you through today, and what have I shown you? Well, asset navigation with the AIM suite, the ability to manage the asset management information more effectively in an OpenText environment. We can automatically identify asset tags at the drawing and document level. We can correct asset tag references and either make those changes at the metadata level, or you can also reject them as well and then go through and correct those manually. We can validate the information against a master system. So the master data in SAP or Maximo, for instance, can then be used. So you have the ground up view of what's in the drawings, and you can see how that correlates with the master system. And then if there are any differences there, they can be corrected. You can use the location from a search and retrieval point of view, so that gives you vastly improved ability to actually find the information you're looking for in a time-efficient manner. And then the icing on the cake, the ability to activate all of that asset information in the drawings automatically using the hotspots. This means that you can then find information within the drawing within the repository or within the drawing very quickly, but also you can navigate to and traverse across either multiple documents within the same repository or access other systems such as SharePoint, SAP, Maximo, as we've shown you today. And all of this is without any changes needed to the drawing. So in terms of benefits that we're generally able to deliver, well, as I mentioned, improved search and retrieval. That really is the main thrust of what we deliver here, but we also do it in a manner of ways in terms of reducing project delays as a result, reducing downtime in terms of particularly when it comes to handover of information, and the increased safety and compliance. So the ability to make sure that the information is right and it's maintained and it's kept up to date and it's kept correct. And this then means that you're able to leverage the investment that you've made, making sure you can fully utilize the SAP system in conjunction with the OpenText system. You can give the end users the ability to have a full 360-degree view of the unstructured content in the documents and drawings within OpenText and the structured content within SAP, all in an intuitive end user interface as you've seen today. Okay, so that was really what I wanted to talk you through today. If there are any questions, please shout out now. But if there aren't, it sounds like a quiet crowd, then you can see my contact details on the screen. Be more than happy to talk to you. If you can reach out to me, answer any questions. If you'd like a bespoke demo of this for you or your colleagues, if there's somebody else that would be interested, happy to do that. One thing that we very often do with customers or with companies who are interested in learning more, we can take some of your own drawings and documents, process them, and again build that bespoke demo so we can show you a demonstration using your own drawings and data. But anyway, thanks for your time, appreciate it, and hope to hear from you soon. Bye for now.